dropship has entered atmosphere. ETA dropship 1 minute. Shutdown sequence initiated.
It helps if I move the microphone over. Hey Monty, how you doing? For all those of you who are watching at the moment, I'm just doing all black piping on before we actually get on to doing all the enamel and stuff that we have planned for today. There's just something to do whilst we wait for people to show up. Really hoping the stream bot actually does its job. Would be nice for people to be notified. Oh, you guys in chat up to much? Hey Alex, how you doing? And welcome in. Today we're going to be painting, well, more of this Imperial Knight, what you can see. And it's mostly going to just be a showcase and like a chapter whilst I work through enamel paints and oil paints and how to use them best. As a lot of people in my little community here are interested in that and want to know a bit more about how to use them effectively, so this Imperial Knight is a perfect example for it. At the moment, just waiting for some of the contrast Black Legion to dry on the piping and stuff, and then we'll be getting into it. Speaking of which, there's some stuff I need to prep. So enjoy the music, and whilst we wait for people to show up, I'll go and get some stuff. Well, see, it is a terrible scenario for you. It's me painting Imperial Knights, so... And welcome in. Yeah, this is interesting. It's Twitch chat which isn't working today. Not YouTube. Let's close Twitch for a second. Yeah, Alex, how you doing? And hopefully I'll now be able to read these messages properly. Yeah, thanks for the follow, Alex. And, yeah. So, I guess the first things we should cover is what stuff you really need for oil paints, although we'll probably go over this a few times. Hey. Okay, that should be all the things we're really going to be using today. Just a small amount of stuff. Yeah, I really enjoy using enamel washes for stuff, so black blue is really nice for doing white panel lines and stuff, especially if you like that more vintage whitey blue kind of look. I really enjoy it. Fresh engine grease, well, as you can see, it's all greasy and grimy and gross. Has that kind of effect on the model as well, which is really nice. See how grimy and gooey it is. It's a really fun stuff to use. What kind of knight are you doing today? This will be a Questoris knight of, well, to use 40k terminology, a Questoris pattern of a Crusader pattern, I suppose is the correct word. So it has a Gatling gun and a thermal cannon. Rack wash is just a really nice grimy texture for stuff which get dirty and greasy. I really like it for that. Starship streaking is a new one to me. I recommended it for doing the panels and stuff. Should be a lot of fun to try out. Engine grime is just that white matte grime build up on engines and stuff. Going to be using that as well. And we also have rust effects as well, because some parts will get rusty and gross, so using those for that. But that is not all we're going to use. It's not just going to be enamel washes today. Hi Hamish. Dirty and greasy sounds like my plans for evening dinner. What are you planning to have, Hamish? And yeah, we're also going to be using some oil paints as well. So this is Abteilung's engine grease. It's a really nice black-brown shade. Really nice for weathering stuff which is going to be a bit dirtier. We've also got some Abteilung black oil, just for if we need any darker shades. And we also have Abteilung bitumen, or bitume, which is just a very nice, very dark brown colour, which is just a very nice oil kind of thing for if you're making a drier looking oil patch or stain. Ooh, both of those are very good options. So, the very first thing we need to do with the oil paints is get them and put them on something porous like cardboard. Because as you'll see, it's quite runny and quite oily naturally. Kind of like the grease of a pizza. And we don't want that oil in the paint we use. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the paint we're planning to use onto here. And leave it for a while, and we'll start working with the enamels. I think you can see why I use the bitumen a bit more often. And this is also where my metal tray comes in. This is very handy for working with oils, as it won't dissolve. And yes, I did just drop a part in. So what we're going to do is put some of our AK odorless thinner onto the palette. Hopefully you guys can see that. Now we'll move the camera back a bit. There we go. I guess we should probably start with this one because I accidentally got some of the paint on here. It's not the end of the world. What we're going to do is we're going to get a brush, put into the odorless thinner, which we're using as our solvent. Here, just because it doesn't smell awful, you can just use white spirit. And all we're going to do is just wash it away, and you'll notice that where there was a massive stain before, it's now disappeared, as if like magic. And it's turned into actually a very nice wash consistency already. Not sure how well you can see that on the stream, but hey. But we're just going to wash it around and just let that sit there for a while. And where did the rest of it go? Here. You can see there's a stain. I think it fell in the black, which is fine. And all we're going to do is just mix it down. Oh no, I think it fell in the engine grease. And even applied solid and soaked, it's still sinking in really nicely into crevices. Well, blend it in basically. Away from any flat panels. Don't really want the engine grease to be on. You can leave it there and it will stain a little and give it a tint, but that's not what we really want in this area. Brush it away. Work the paint we're moving into some of the creases where we think it might naturally be. And there we go, we've turned that little accident into a nice bit of shading there. I'm not sure how well that shows on the stream, but hey. We'll go into a bit more drastic stuff in a little moment. Yeah, that is just how easy it is to work with oils in a very brief summary. Incidental summary. But what we're more likely going to want to do is move things a bit more drastically. So what we're going to do is the top of this black is relatively clean, so what we'll do is we'll load up our brush with some of the oil paint, and we're going to mix it into this well here, which has a bit of the odorless thinner in, and you'll notice it's immediately made a wash, which is we can work with that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to drown the head section of this knight with it, because we want this to be darker and a bit more dramatic, because the helmet is going over this. All we're going to do is dip our brush in and cover the head with it. It doesn't matter if it pulls up on the surfaces, we'll sort that out in a bit. All we want to do now is just drown the area in the black oil paint that we've just diluted. And as a quick reminder, in case you don't remember, all we've done to this model, other than the black and the brass, is spray it silver. There's no varnishes or anything on this model. And the black is a contrast paint. It is Black Legion. So keep going over the entire head structure in the black oil. Very thoroughly covered. You'll probably see that just naturally the head actually has shaded itself quite well, just the surface tension of the odorless thinner pushing it into those recesses. We might not actually need to do too much cleaning here. And we're going to basically do this all over again. We're going to mix some more wash. So I have a dirty well of oil here, which I'm just using, well, I'll be using for all of the oil mixes we make here, just because it doesn't really matter, it's all very similar tones. We're going to get a bit more oil paint and mix that in. More of a wash, because we have these little areas here which we want to also be quite dark, so what we'll do is we'll just push it in, and immediately the surface tension has turned it into a very clean wash. Not much effort. Keep going. I'm just going to put this black oil wash into all of these darker areas where we expect not much light to be. So at the underside here there's lots of piping and detail, which we can easily bring out just by covering it in oil. So, won't necessarily look most amazing now, but that's not the point. Okay, let's have a look at other parts of the model where we think there might be some of this more darker areas. And what I did do with the brushing, with the priming, is I did do a bit of a zenithal, as some of these areas are naturally dark. And what we're going to do to help blend it in is, again, use some more of this black wash, just panel line effectively. we're going to mix it down so it's a lot more watery in consistency, and I'm just going to dab the areas, and you'll see it naturally runs away from the flatter panels when it's this thin, just leaving a darker recessed shade. Going to do this to all the places where I airbrushed the spray to the silver with the cap. Starting to get a point where I can probably use this all for the black. So what I'm doing here is probably the best way to do a non-oil style effect. It's a lot easier. It doesn't, well, coffee stain I think is the term people use for it. Or tea stain the area unless you want it to, and does a very good job of panel lining. I'm not sure you can see in here too well. You can see they're significantly darker from where I've just gone in with the oil wash. Same here. I'm going to do this in a way that you can see, but it's a really difficult area to get to. Yeah, you can kind of see. Nothing. Back here there's some very deep recesses we can just fill in. Black oil. But it's meant to be dark, so I'll put some paint in there. Do you own any other knights, and if not, what army do you collect? I collect a lot of armies, but my main one at the moment, hence why I'm painting this one, is Imperial Knights. Although I guess I'm probably known for my Emperor's Children. One most people are aware I collect, which is for the Horus Heresy. But I do have a full knight household. Hey how are you doing? Not water. Water's useless here. And you know what, we'll just do this here just as like an example of how the surface tension breaks, because I think I can more clearly show you guys how this looks. Yeah, you can see on the generator there around the cog and the bolts that the black oil has seeped in really nicely and generated a nice shade around there. A lot finer than you'd probably get from known oil. Well, I'm probably going to wipe most of this away because I don't think the black necessarily belongs there, but you get the idea. Now what we can do. The line there. Not sure how well that shows on the stream, but a bit more wash. Put that in. And down here as well, looks like it's needs a bit more. So again, let's work some more oil in. And that's as much of the black I'm going to do on here. I think that's shaded enough. We'll do plenty more of effects soon. You know, for now, we'll can sit in the water jug. Let's move on to the lower half of the knight now. It's a bit less to work on with here. But there's still areas we can work this wash in. I'm probably going to do is just paint it over the black areas as well. And where these rivets are on the insides of the legs. Just to give a bit more definition. I think you can see where the brush is, yeah? Cool. And well, it's already worked its way around this side as well, which is quite convenient. Just going to load it up a little bit more. And do the same on this side. Brush it once in. Get more oil paint into this wash that we're generating here. Feel like this area here. Wow, you can see that just immediately jumped into the recess here. Immediately making it quite dark and just flows in. So all you really need to do is just dab your brush in and you'll see it's already run all the way down the length of that recess. And as this is again going to be hidden mostly, what we'll do again is cover most of this up here as well, and we'll use this to demonstrate surface tension. Hopefully. Let's choose here. Make sure it's showing clearly. Dab it in and you see it immediately. Again, so all we need to do is just keep dabbing around and you'll see it immediately runs in. But here, let's fill in this one as well. You know what I'll do also is I'm just going to put a massive ugly blotch there. Okay, make a note of that. There's a blotch on the leg there, and we'll come back to it, okay? we're just going to leave it be for now. We're not going to worry about it. It's there, I fucked up, there's a bit of paint somewhere where it shouldn't be. Okay, and we'll just get back to painting the rest of the model. And, well, that gets into all the places where the light wouldn't shine normally. Again, because this is just a black shade, all we're doing is really generating the shadows here. Don't really use this for much else. So there's a bit heavy here. We'll sort that out in a bit. No worries. And thanks for support, G. I hope you're having a lovely day. Can't really show this too much because there isn't really much detail down here in the joints, but what I'm doing is just rubbing more of this oil wash into the aid, and we'll again need to top up on the black, so we'll mix some more of the oil paints from our cardboard palette into our metal one. So that make it slightly heavier now because we've basically got a light wash and a dark wash here, and again we'll just, that's quite heavy, get some more of our odorless thinner, pull that onto the palette. It's going to make a little bit of a mess, but hey, if you're broke, don't worry. But it's the link in the watermark at the bottom of the screen. In fact, I need to do something to make that a bit more visible, don't I? But yeah, here, well, that's the link for if you want to donate, just in case you're wondering. Again, it's a donation, it's entirely optional. I don't expect anyone to, but I do appreciate it when you do. So yeah, we'll go back to panel lining. Yeah. Oh, we should probably address the mess up that we did here. What we're going to do is just get some odorless thinner on our brush and just brush it in. In fact, we can probably even use that as a bit of a well for more of the wash. Doing oil washes is just a really effective way. I think I just missed that magic. Do I not have a... Oh, I do have a skull. Let's see if I can recreate it here. So there's a skull and a piston here. What we're going to do is we're just going to drown it in oil. There we go. There's quite a lot of oil on it. Clean our brush, and we're just going to sap it up and leave it just around where we want it to be. This is probably going to get a little bit ASMR-y whilst I focus. Sorry about that, chat. If you're into it, that's great. Otherwise, I do apologise. Yeah. I do, whilst I'm using this as a tutorial piece, I'd still want it to look good. So. And yeah, you'll notice that stain's dried up a bit now. Looks rough dry. Oh well. Doesn't matter. Again, we can fix that in a bit. Doing the feet on these is very satisfying. So you see the panel here, just gonna dab it in and it's filled in the area. Again, this one, just dab it in. Build panel. And now for the underside here, go nice and dark with this, so we use a heavier wash that we've been making. Again, we can dab just that in. Some of the lighter wash in so we get a better flow, and we're just going to paint this over this section here because we want this area to be a lot darker. I want to make sure that this is all shaded nicely. And now I'm just going to have a quick look around the model, see if there's anywhere obvious we've missed, and yes there is. Can do the joint around the socket here, just add some oil in, there we go. Feet are done. Oh, add some shade into this socket here, so we'll do that. I did that one quite well. Let's build up the contrast over here with the oil. Okay. And even though this is going to be covered, let's still do these sections anyway, just for completeness. Okay. Oh, sorry, I was doing a bit off camera. So, that's the black done on the chassis. Put that back in there. Let's do the arms. Oh, these have some nice large flat panels, which will make this even more satisfying, I think. See that's nicely in view. Excellent. Just dab the brush in, and it just completes them like that. Simple, straightforward. Let's keep doing that on all of these sections. Make it lighter where I want it to be a bit more subtle. Darker where I think it will be a bit more obvious. So at the moment I have 3 different shades. I have a darker shade, which is more oil, has more oil paint pigments in. This one, which is basically non-oil in consistency, and this one here, now, which is a very light wash, which I'm mostly using just to top up these ones, really. And I'll keep going around in a circle pretty much around the palette. Just keep dabbing. So in here this is going to be very dark because this is a very shaded area, so we can go a bit heavier with the wash. And the same here as well. I've left a lot of this night relatively clean from different metals and textures because I wanted to just highlight just how much you can do with oil paints on this one. How long have I been hobbying? Most of my life, to put it simply. I got, well, since I was a kid, basically. And, no worry, Alex. Like, before I could, like, properly talk, I was already messing around with, miniature models of, you know, like, miniature trains and stuff. By the time I was 6, I think I'd already built a scale model railway. It wasn't a very good one, but still had one. And yeah, I then, once I then grew up a little, got into building historical miniature models, you know, like Spitfires and Tiger tanks and stuff. And I think it was when I was around 11. I was introduced to Warhammer by a neighbour who basically sold me on the whole concept of, hey, you know how you really love building miniature models? Well, if you could actually play like a proper game with them. And yeah, I was instantly sold. And yeah, I got into Warhammer Fantasy. Because at the time I'd just discovered Lord of the Rings and found all that stuff really cool, and I've grown up in very historical towns with castles and stuff. So medieval knights were very appealing to me, and the Bretonnians just stood out to me as just like the best faction, the most interesting one by far. Yeah, I was around 11 when I got into that, and then I think I was around 13? I'm not sure, but yeah, I started looking into 40k at around 4th edition, as my neighbour gave me a bunch of his old White Dwarf magazines, and yeah, I read an article about the Badab War in there, and I was like, wow, that's such a cool idea, because I was getting familiar with Warhammer 40k from just spending so much time in Games Workshops. And yeah, the whole idea that the bad guys could actually have fallen and become bad guys simply because the Imperium itself was bad, kind of idea. Really spoke to me for some reason, and I just like the whole renegade pirate thing. So I started my very first army, and I don't think I told Varak this, was Iron Warriors and Red Corsairs, because in the same article there was a battle report with Iron Warriors versus Salamanders, and yeah, giant artillery pieces just were very appealing to me, and I've always found big guns cool. So the idea that these renegade space marines could have these massive artillery cannons for basilisks at the time was really, really cool. And that sold me on 40k. As you know, trebuchets and knights and shining armor are one thing, but a giant cannon is another. And other parts for hobbying I do. I still do scale miniature models. And I do play a lot of bolt action as well, which is a World War II game made by the guy who originally wrote the rules for Warhammer 40k and Fantasy, and therefore is quite similar in style. Hold on a second. Okay, there we go. I just need to do something quickly. Yeah, it's kind of a weird one, I guess, overall. It's like, with sci-fi stuff, I'm not overall a huge fan of sci-fi. I generally prefer fantasy stuff, with Battletech and 40k being the main exceptions, just simply because of their attitude and way of doing sci-fi. As both games treat it a lot more, I guess, historical, rather than as a fantasy setting, as a sci-fi setting. I started with start collecting boxes of Space Marines and Tau. Yeah, again, don't let Varak hear this, but after 5th edition, in which I started playing Imperial Guard, I did start playing Tau. And they were my main army in 40k until, until 8th edition, really. Mostly because my partner also got into the hobby since, and they really like the Tau. So to avoid us both playing and collecting the same armies, I've stopped playing the Tau. As I enjoy my Space Marines, so I was happy to move over and let them have the Tau as an army. I have quite a large collection of Tau now as well, including Taunar. Yeah, I really enjoy the Tau, which is also why in the quite a few Discord servers, I normally use the nickname Tuppy. You get it? It's an awful pun, but yeah. All off camera. But yeah, it's nothing really exciting to be seen right now. Just, again, shading. Enamel Washes. careful. The black I need to do on that one. So another reason why oils are great. You can see here that the black stain's still there and it's dried up. I can touch it and it's not moving. And what I'm going to do is go and get a cotton bud. Okay, so cotton buds acquired. That without it? No. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll get a cotton bud, we'll dip it in some of the odorless thinner, and we'll just brush away the mistake. And like that, it's gone. No more black stain. And using this technique and method, now return to the head, which we drowned in black wash, and we're just going to brush the cotton bud over the surface and remove any of the wash from panels where we don't actually want the black oil to be. Done. Well, that's the thing here, Byron, right? Here's our oil paints, here's our palette. We take oil from here, mix it into our thinner, and paint. There's not really much to it, really. And the thing is, this palette here, this sort of cardboard stuff, this paint will take days to dry, so I can just crack on and do a bunch of other things with it as well. Now just thinking, what step should we do next? You underestimate my laziness. Right, it took me months to get Varrock to do anything. I think I can understand lazy people, and it's kind of also why I'm doing this stream, because I feel like a lot of people are scared away from using oil paints, simply because, you know, professional people do it and they're like, oh, it's just such an alien technique, right? I feel like that's a driving factor for so many people not to use them. Like, you know, I'm using all sorts of stuff here. I'm using Tamiya paints, I use an airbrush, I use basically all the non-Games Workshop stuff. We do need to leave this to dry for just a little bit before we go on to the next steps. I think what else we can... what else do I think? What would you oil? I'm assuming you mean what oil paints would I use over gold, right? Normally browns. Again, it depends. There's a bit more to it than just, you know, washing it. It's like what lighting, what environment, what overall hue do you want the model to have? All of these things have an impact. And hey, Saurian Buckle, how are you doing? Today we're painting a Questoris Knight, and at the moment just waiting for the oil paints and oil washes I'm using to dry a little bit, and then we'll be carrying on with oils and enamels. Today's mostly just a day of, I guess, introducing people to the idea of how to use oil paints and enamel paints, because they're basically treated the same way. Because I know a lot of people, especially in Warhammer, use acrylics only, and a lot of these techniques and methods using oils and enamels will be a bit new to people. But I just want to make sure, well, I guess show people it's not actually as scary as it is. Oh, that's a spicy one actually. Just on that note. And yeah, I'm doing good, Soren. Now, what we'll also do, because I know some people might not want to invest straight away in Abteilung paints, as I know they're a bit more difficult to find and a bit more expensive, and you know, it kind of intimidating. It's like £5, but yeah, you get a lot more use out of this. And thanks for the follow, Sorian. You get a lot more mileage out of this and a bottle of nice thinner than you would do out of Citadel washes, for example. But what we'll also do on this model is we'll use some old crappy oil paints that I got here. So these are some Crawford and Black oil paints from the works. You can see how grimy and gross they are from not really being used, but we will use these on this model. Just to highlight that you don't need to spend on the more fancy stuff if you don't want to. I'd still highly recommend it, but you don't have to. In fact, let's get the burnt umber, because I think this will be one I'll use a bit more here. Oh, this is so gross. But yeah, let's get the burnt umber on our cardboard here. There we go. Yeah, this gross stuff is the oil that makes the oil paints kind of glossy. And that's why, again, for those who missed it, we're putting it onto the cardboard there so the oil gets soaked into the cardboard and leaves us with just the pigments. And you know, I'm just going to put these back in the drawer. You know, I can live there just to highlight that we're using a crappy oil. Yeah, sorry, and if you want to, hopefully it will work, but you should be able to type !Discord in chat and come over to a Discord server. If not, I can grab you a link. As I know Nightbot on Twitch has been a bit funny for me recently. Yeah, again, it depends on the oil paint, depends on the quality. There's so many things that can impact the quality. Load up this well here with some oil and grab a little bit of this fresh out of the see, it's already pinned down into a very brown wash here already. This would be more something you'd use on terrain, this kind of colour, but what we'll do is we'll just cover the foot in it for now. And we'll do this whilst the black is still a bit wet, in order to help it blend in a bit more. Just making sure to clean our brush in between so we don't taint the brown too much, but we'll just get that on in areas first. What model suit is it? So yeah, there's work in progress channels in each category, depending on what the relevant hobbying is. If it's 40k, put it in the 40k channel. So. What we'll do, and briefly back to the model, let's just dab the brown onto the areas in which we want the brown on now. Again, it doesn't really matter if it's not in the correct places right now. Trying to get the colour in the right places. Okay, sorry. What you need to do is in the welcome and rules section, at the bottom there is a little reaction, the little yellow heart. If you click on that, it'll give you access to the server. It's just a anti-bot mechanism. So yeah, read through rules, click on reaction, and you have access to the server. Dab some on the silver ground for now, just so you can see. I know it's very satisfying watching the oils work its way into the creases. Yeah. Yeah, we'll go back to waiting for a few moments and looking for something else to paint whilst we leave that brown that we just put on and the black to dry a little. What else can I throw some paint on? May as well do some more oil washes. Oh, I've got an idea. Give me a moment. Okay, so this is the Naoma main battle tank from Promised Lands. It's definitely not a Predator or a Lumen Rust proxy, which I've only really base coated in metals. But yeah, what we can do is we can mess around with some oils on this. And you know, a Heresy section of GW, there's only one knight. Is that the only one in the Plastic Heresy? Legal as I'm considering free, but yeah. So the only full-sized knight that's available from Games Workshop for the Heresy is the Questoris Knight. The Dominus Knight doesn't have any rules for whatever reason. And if you want to play a knight in the Heresy as its own army, as in it's like its own detachment or as a proper force, you need to take 2 armatures for every single knight you take of any kind. That's a question. What? Yeah, let's spice things up. So, for the tank, sorry for shaking it, but needs to be done. We'll be using this Ammo by MiG blue-black panel liner. So this is a Enamel Wash, so an alternative to oils, but you can buy pre-mixed. It's the first time I've opened it, so need to shake it properly. And this is a very dark black blue, so I guess Naggaroth Nightshade. We can see here, it's somewhere between Naggaroth and what we'll do is we'll just straight out the bottle, use it the same way we're using the oil wash. Only word of caution is this stuff is a bit smelly. It works. These will just go through and dab. And all of these. Although I think I might actually do something a bit different with those. So let's just apply this wash into the areas we want it to be. It will look a bit weird because this is a 3D printed model, so we'll go into the print lines on this, but we can resolve that in the right places. Sweeping into all of those lines really nicely. As long as you aren't drinking it, it'll be fine. Action side here. You can't really see that, but it's very difficult to I can do a better job of showing it on this side. Yeah. With this in, say, black. Also, hey Adron, how are you doing? Having a chill day, nice. I'm hoping everyone here is having a nice chill day. And don't worry, sorry, I haven't forgotten to have a look at your model. I just want to get this section done, so that we can then take a break to look at the models properly. Alright. How would you take on knights with the Emperor's children? Firepower and lots of high strength melee weapons. Anything that's good against vehicles will be good against knights. The only thing is, the knights are somewhat capable of hitting back. Yeah, pretty much, yeah, just anything with Armor Bane or Sunder or something along those lines. Just out of interest, Saurian, how did you find my channel, by the way? Have a quick look on the Discord server. Okay, Saurian, you still there? So just giving them a response in the Discord server. Again, in case you're for one person who isn't aware at this point from the people in chat, !_ Discord in chat will give you a invite link to the Discord server. And if you want to show off your models or want to just chat and hang about, it's a place to be. Yeah, if you want to see works in progress of all the stuff I'm working on when it's not on stream, that's where I normally post stuff. And yeah. Right. Shall we get back to a night? I'm really hoping the Discord link works on YouTube now. Come on, Nightbot, do your thing. Oh, this is going to be a little awkward. Oh, there we go. And yeah, if you want to see Saurian's first models, they're on the 40k channel. And also people get used to that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on oil and grime on this knight. There's lots of pistons, lots of things moving about. Let's make it look like they actually do their things. Oh. Put the lid's glued shut on it. Right, force it open. There we go. Is I'll just put some on the palette just so you guys can see what it looks like. I think it looks quite realistic. Right, let's start putting it on the knight. A little amount on. I'm just going to put it at the tops of all the pistons. Now, basically just wash it in where the pistons are. So we get that lovely, grimy oil look. And we're just going to work this in to all the areas we expect to be oily and greasy. Bottom here. Try painting a model in oils as in its entirety, or aim here isn't necessarily to make it consistent with the oil, but just more imply that there's oil in the areas in which we're putting the oil. Built up and looking gross is basically the aim here. And stuff I would likely need oiling, we're just going to put some oil there. Spot here is the import. So it's going to basically drown this area in oil, and we'll do something slightly different here.
Friendly dropship has entered atmosphere. ETA dropship 1 minute. All systems nominal.
And gross looking. It's just this main joint between the knight and the upper bit of the knight, so you could probably say we've overdone it somewhat there, which is fine. What we're going to do now, move the brush off. Water won't really do too much, but it helps get worse off. It's going to get more. Thinner down. Wet our brush in it. Just going to brush it downwards. The oil. It's starting to streak it and make it look all dirty and grimy. And streaks, as if there's been some movement there. Hopefully you can see here. Just past the joint. Gravity will force some of this oil downwards. Keep going until it looks about right. Notice as well that the oil, because we've just saturated so much, has actually started to leak down here as well. That's good, because that's where oil would naturally go. Help encourage that as well. Bring in more ourselves. Should look nice, grimy and streaky. And we'll leave that to set for a little bit. Okay, say that I did miss a section. Oh. Probably won't be too many moving parts on here that will need it. I think it would just be the top section of the head. So we'll just get a little amount here and just put it in. Top crease of the head where it's likely there's going to be some movement. In terms of visible areas, I think that's it on the torso. Or the arms. Very first and most obvious place is this joint here. This is going to be very oily. Look at how much movement there is here, so we'll just drown that in oil. Not too worried about spilling over, because again, it would make a mess of itself. Side. Do the same. Pistons here. And try and run it around the top because that's more likely to get dirty and greasy. Well,
Enemy mech destroyed. Primary objective successful.
also, if you didn't glue it in place, a piston here which is actually articulating itself,
Friendly dropship has entered atmosphere.
which is perfect for us.
1 minute.
It shows that this entire thing should just be greasy and gross. You're trying to follow along using GW paints. The closest thing we did have was Agrax Earth Shade Gloss. That would have been the closest. What size magnets do you use on a knight? To be honest, I don't know. I've tried to magnetize knights in the past and just found it wasn't really worth it because I kept playing knights in the same configurations. This is all just sub-assemblies, not actually magnetized. So here, as it's not a place where I can really put the oils because we want this to be able to articulate still, we'll run the oil around either side of it, like so, and we'll come back to it. Here again, we'll just drown this area in oil as this is another major articulation point. Okay, that's all suitably greased up and dirty with oil. Let's move on to the next one. Which will have a lot more on it because this one actually has moving parts in its firing mechanism. So again, we'll open up the arm as far as it goes, so the pistons fully extended so it can paint the entire thing in grease. It does look like this entire thing does get horrifically greasy. Yes. Paint around here again. And the nice thing about painting oil and grease on vehicles, especially ones as mechanically complex as this, is it's actually perfectly okay to make a mess everywhere. As it will itself, as a machine, make a lot of mess everywhere. And the people repairing it will make a mess, or maintaining it will make a mess everywhere of oils as well. Yes, my advice when it comes to greasing up and oiling your knights, if you think there's a possibility for it to move, or for there to be oil in that area, put oil in that area. Not really a wrong place for it. And down here where the flame is, it looks like it should be able to articulate on that point there, so what we'll do is we'll oil all of that up. Up, let's do the articulation joint down here. Mix it all up. Lovely and oily. Good for now. Has just occurred to me, I don't think we did quite enough oil on the legs. Quick recap, as we kind of forgot about that joint here. Around here, oil, so oil would make a mass all up here. This piston as well, so let's just quickly move in and do that. Oh yeah, it's looking very grimy and gross, but not very refined. Don't worry, we will come back and tidy it up a little bit. Leg joints up here look like we could do some grime as well. That all over that area. Oil into the ring outside as well. Okay, so added some grease and oil. Now in some more places. Oh. Alright, so what's everyone else up to? And I'll be back in just... Okay, I'm back. Everyone's still alive? Oh, is it just my is it just my stream, or is no one actually talking? Oh, nice. I can see you're here. Ah, there we go. I can see Hamish's message. Excellent. Okay, so there is life. Cool. So I guess an update on the oil. You can see it's started to subside a bit and isn't as dramatic. Wet our brush in some of the odorless thinner, and with these areas here, this like big obnoxious section here. Hey Sean. No worry, Hamish. It'll just gently brush down and start to move that oil around a bit. Hang on, wait, Hamish, was my stream on whilst you were snoozing? Hey. It is my voice that calming, Hamish, so you can fall asleep to it. Well, I suppose there goes any of the flattery of you falling asleep through my stream. How hot is it outside at the moment? Right now we're just going to tidy up all of that brown paint we put down earlier. And move it round a bit so that we get a more consistent streaking effect with it, rather than just random patches. Like the dirt and stuff, rather than just paint. Yeah, if you use a damp brush it will streak quite nicely, and will give just a dirty effect on the side. Do this in a downwards motion, you'll help push it down as well. Yeah, I agree with you, Hamish. What we're doing now is just wetting the brush briefly and then drying it off so it's not too dry and will still actually have an effect, and we'll just keep going. With some of those harsher oil enamel areas, Not less to say, I'll just pick up the end of it with a brush and pull it downwards. And blend it and make it a bit less drastic. It has been quite nice weather. Carry on pulling the enamel wash downwards. Looks like it is being pulled down with gravity. That. You're taking too much away. Hey Doyle, you can always seep back into where the oil paint is naturally run and pull it back up again. So here we've made the streak come back up. So yeah, we did a wash with the black oil paint, and then we covered any area which moves in, or would realistically move in oil in an enamel oil paint, which is Ammo by MiG engine fuel and oil range, fresh engine oil, and we've painted that into anywhere where would realistically move. And we let it sit for a little while. And now what we're doing is we're tidying it up and making it look more like it has moved and not just been painted into place by using the exact same odorless thinner we used to thin the oil paints down. Just like brush and tidy. Here we're just going to push the oil down away from the point where I brushed it on. And what that's going to do is kind of semi-reactivate it and help us move it into a more accurate place. Hey Serene. And yeah, it'll reactivate it and help us push it more into a place which is a bit more accurate to where it would have been. But doing it as lots and lots of gentle downward strokes with the wet brush. Move the paint which we put on down, following gravity. I've been looking at putting Mark III helmets and shoulder pads on Mark VI. Has anyone tried the same with Mark IV? Yeah, I've seen plenty of people on Twitter have done it. It looks quite good with Mark IV stuff, I think. And no worries, Sorian. You're not expected to hang around and stay. And welcome back, Alex, as well. You guys have all missed the fun stuff. Yeah, Sorian, I've got a question for you. How did you find the stream? As in, like, did you find it just by looking through Discord or your Twitch category? And yeah, so what we're doing at the moment is we're pushing the oil down for wet brush again, away from this joint, which would be greased up. So it looks more like it's running down and away from it, as if it's been oiled a bit too much and starting to leak grease. Awesome. And thanks for letting me know, Sorian. So yeah, I'm relatively new to streaming. And yeah, so just getting into the swing of things, and yeah, it's good to know people are finding me through the category search on Twitch. Yeah, Alex, are you subscribed to a channel? Or did it come up in your recommended? Well, thanks for subscribing, but yeah. This is, I guess, one of the reasons why I am simultaneously streaming to both platforms, because for you guys on YouTube, it's a lot easier for you guys to be notified and made aware that I'm streaming, which is good. As more consistently puts it into your feed and your homepage. But it's pretty difficult to get people to find the channel through YouTube through just streaming, which is why I'm also simultaneously streaming to Twitch as well, as a new friend Sorian has demonstrated today. He's found the channel through the Warhammer category. Yeah, sorry, Sorian. I forgot to mention, yes, I stream to YouTube and to Twitch. Also working on doing some content creation on YouTube for helping people get into the Horus Heresy, and mostly Horus Heresy stuff. I also do some Battletech stuff as well, mostly playing MechWarrior and MechWarrior Online. And yeah, it's mostly going to be Warhammer adjacent, so Horus Heresy or 40k, but occasional Battletech stuff. And once it does come about, we will be doing some Warhammer the Old World content. And once I've worked out how to get my game to run stably, I will do a let's play or like a playthrough style thing of Warhammer Total War. And no worries, Sorian. Hope you have a lovely day, and I'll catch you next time. And yeah, I need to work out how to sort out the Nightbot to do automatic commands and stuff, Doyle, to plug via different. And yeah, I think almost everyone here is here because they know me through Barak's community and channel. Yeah, right. Painting. Let's focus on painting for now. I didn't do blending on... No, I did do blending on the legs. Let's have a quick look at it. Wait, Alex, is that you leaving, or you just saying goodbye to Sorian? Together properly. So, do here with a bit of an ink stain. Just massage the area. And just push it back more into the recesses so it's a bit more subtle and less obvious. A bit more in line with this side. Sides, we're going to just kind of brush with the same dampness. Oh, welcome back, Sorian. Haven't seen you in a little while. Hope everything's going alright. Yeah, we'll just carry on tidying this up. Tidying up a mess of the ball joints down here. But I think that's good. You know what? Let's let's take a couple of pictures and put them on the stream just so you can have a look at the progress so far. Let's put the night together so you can see how it looks currently. Steps. Who is it, by the way, Sorian? Just out of interest. A bit of a sidetrack, but maybe worth a look if you end up needing to wait for paint to dry. I found a cool 3D print of a palace that someone made and posted to Instagram. Nice. Would you recommend sub-assembly for painting knights? Absolutely. That's why, well, this one's in sub-assemblies. And you have just reminded me we need to do the guns as well. So if you give me a moment, we'll finish taking some pictures of the stuff we've been doing here to put on the stream for us to talk about whilst it dries. So what I'll do is I'll upload pictures into the Knight project channel on Discord, but we'll go through them manually on stream as well. So yeah, always try and once you understand how to paint in sub-assemblies, it will very much change how you hobby for the better. There we go. You can see we're building up the grease and stuff on the knight, so the oil. You can see also where the washes have shaded the foot here. Whilst not being too overbearing. And relatively subtle here in the knees. Most of this is going to be covered. But yeah. Relatively subtle, quite simple. Yeah, you can see it's a bit more dramatic over here. Again on this one, you can see the piston here is quite oily and gross. See the oil naturally is kind of a bit more glossy and a bit more viscous than the other enamels and oil, so it's naturally pooling and collecting kind of where oil would be. You can see again the grease marks here on the pistons. I swear you keep tempting me to get new models. Never wanted a knight until yesterday's stream. Knights are fun, knights are cool, and you can also, yeah, you can see there's marks of oil and the grease. Hey Hugh, how are you doing? And yeah, around here at the bottom where the joint is, you can see the dirty build-up of the oil and stuff here. Yeah, this is what we're currently working on. Hugh, we're currently painting this model, but I thought we'd just take a quick break whilst the oils are drying to actually have a better look manually at what's going on the model. As I get that a webcam isn't the most useful. Yeah, on the other side you can see again the oil that we used here on the piston, the grime, and also the shading the black oil paint did on the areas. It's not too visible on the back here, but we can fix that. Make that more dramatic if we want to, but we still got a lot of different weathering effects to do here. I'm doing well, and it's amazing, thanks. Again, yeah, this is still very much the early stages of this model. Yeah, the face is a lot more dramatic with the oil washes. So you can see where we put the black oil paint in these recesses here to shade them. And then also, quite obviously on the face here, you can see how the oil wash has sunk really nicely into all the creases and crevices. We do need to tidy up the oil streak on the middle there, but that's not going to be too difficult for us to do. And it's also given us a relatively nice texture, because as you probably notice up here, I did mess up spraying this model. And it did bubble a bit, but the oil paint down here has actually worked really well with that texture to make it look quite aged and quite good, I think, personally. It's a happy little accident, you could say. I'm not too worried about this section up here because that will be covered. Hey Anonymous, how you doing? Again, here on the leg you can see where the oil is and all the grease. Now we've been building up the oil around these joints. Now you can't really see it from this angle, but the oil around the pistons is a bit dry on this section. And the oil is kind of hung to these bolts here as well. And again, you can see how the black oil paint has done the shading. Thanks, Lupercat. Good to see you in chat. Yeah, Doyle, this is exactly what's going on here. So it's sprayed black, then sprayed silver, and then we've only put three different oil things on here. We've got some black oil paint, some oil enamel wash designed to look like fresh engine oil, and some brown paint towards the bottom here as well. That's all we've really done to this model so far. And Anonymous, that's honestly just kind of adorable. But yeah, again, you can see where the black oil has shaded in this model. Compared to here at the front, the flamer, we haven't done anything to it. And you can see here in the gaps where it's silver, compared to the other sections towards the back here where it's all painted in black. And this is a better angle of how the oil from the enamel looks. And I think it looks relatively realistic so far. So yeah, that's the current state of the night. Whilst we're waiting, shall we have a look through the models people post on the Discord? Sorry, and if you're okay, we can have a look at your models on stream. Awesome. So first thing we'll start off with, it's been relatively quiet, is Zell's Emperor's Children. He's been working more on painting up the dreadnoughts with this wonderful pinky purple scheme using inks, which I really like. If you're going for a very vibrant colour, this is an amazing way of doing it. I really like that he shaded to a bluey purple from the pinky purple. So next week's pre-orders. Yeah. cultists. Nice. Hang on, wasn't this already confirmed? A week old, isn't it? Right? I'm not going insane, am I? Barracks chat. I don't understand why Warhammer does this. Well, Warhammer community does this. They don't actually update the website. Fine. So, okay, so Kill Team Into the Dark. Looking good. Nice amount of terrain there. I'm still not a fan of the helmets on these guys. They just remind me too much of Crisis. But the terrain does look really good. The only real reason why I'd buy this is for the terrain. I mean, the recruit also look good, but I prefer my Tau. So, yeah. It's cool. It's a thing. Yeah, the terrain is, again, what I'm mostly interested in. I'm assuming those are paper sheets. A collectible tin, okay. They get a tin for your tokens. This is by far the most interesting thing for me personally. Because I missed out on this box when it first came out. I just didn't have the money at the time, so the fact I can now pre-order and buy this kill team is nice for me. And the Galapox are one of the more interesting things. This would be a fun way to get some stuff to sprinkle into a Chaos Cult of Nurgle, or something for the Horus Heresy. Oh, we're finally getting the Phobos kill team. Hey look, Varek's going to be happy we've got some Space Marine releases. Alright, what do you think about the lore of Warhammer Fantasy, and what was your favourite faction in Fantasy? My favourite faction was Bretonnia, although there's not really a faction I dislike in Fantasy. Fantasy is by far my favourite setting, and I would be a Fantasy tuber and streamer if it was still a thing. Yeah, I suppose, yeah, so we could put some homebrew channels in, Sorian. I'd be up for that. Yeah, I'll sort it out after a stream, okay? and just trying to plan what I'll pick for Heresy. I'd say Space. I'd do a Legion. Definitely, because it's the easiest things to really learn the mechanics and what the game's really focused around. And then I'd consider adding things like an Imperial Knight or anything else onwards onto it, as you can always add different detachments, different forces onto your main army. And yes, Forza Lady. I can see a lot of people buying multiples of this box to use. I think that's a given. Because we just lack Chaos Cultists. I still don't understand why we lack them. So yeah, this will be very popular. I think I'll probably buy it. Oh, Killzone Morok. Terrain, cool. A book. Ooh! Classic Gandalf miniature. Now we're getting into the interesting stuff. I really like this model. I think it would be fun to paint up. Ooh, Cataphracti Terminators for your Death Guard. Haven't seen these in a while. No, Mark II and Mark IV shoulder pads for a Death Guard. That's nice to see. Oh, and the Mark III torsos as well, nice. Yeah, I bet a bunch of people still have that model. Oh, and cool, some Space Wolf stuff. Never mind. So yeah, back to the Death Guard stuff. Yeah. As I was there the day Games Workshop discontinued Mark II armor. Yeah, I was at the Warhammer Fest the year they announced that we're discontinuing all the Mark II stuff, and I basically panic bought as much of the Forge World Mark II upgrades as I could. For all the different legions and stuff I was playing. Still have some Mark II Assault Marines kicking about as well. Yeah, it's nice to see the old stuff returning. And yeah, I'd absolutely buy a couple of these Mark III torso kits just to upgrade the sergeants for the Mark III Marines I'd use to build a Death Guard army. You also got some Space Wolf ones. The Space Wolves are dead to me at this point. I am sorry. Like, these are the coolest things I've seen for Space Wolves, but still. The Space Wolves are dead to me, but those stupid heads killed it for me. There's no way I could possibly ever like the Space Wolves ever again after those heads were released. So, the the Soul Drinkers Omnibus is getting its release in paperback and ebook again. Or is this a new one? A paperback release of Volpone Glory? Okay. I'm assuming that's a Guard novel. Oh, and Sigmar stuff. Oh, His Last Command is getting its audiobook release. And Warhammer Plus. Oh, wow, we're actually going to see some Votan play in Warhammer Plus. god, we're getting stuff about Vovotan, other than just a once a week model display. Wait, hang on a second. This means we've seen Vovotan stuff at this point, right? We're not going to reveal new models in the battle reports. So, hang on, is this all we're getting for Votan then? Is that it? Have we seen all the Votan models? Okay. We have the Lore Masters Part 2 on Votan. And a couple of classic White Dwarves. And then Wednesday night or Thursday morning, depending on how you want to look at it, we will get the Nova preview, which is going to have stuff for 40k, Sigma, Underworlds, and for Horus Heresy. That'll be interesting. Ooh, okay. Now that's something I wasn't expecting. We've got loads to show right here on Warhammer Community website too. Tomorrow we'll have reveals for Necromunda and Adeptus Titanicus. Titanicus is not dead. Wow, okay. I wasn't expecting new Titanicus stuff. I kind of assumed they were just going to leave that to be forgotten about until we got 40k, well, Horus Heresy Epic. Wow, okay. That's a surprise. Imperator Titan, yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't think there's anything much else to cover there. Wow, okay, so the most exciting thing here is the fact that Titanicus isn't dead. The biggest reveal, Titanicus is not dead. Somehow that thing is still getting stuff. It's like, honestly, I have to give Titanicus some credit. As you probably worked out by now, I really like big stompy robots. I have Knights, I have a Titan, I play Battletech, and I'm starting Mechanicum. I like big stompy robots. You will have noticed, at no point have I ever said I collect Adeptus Titanicus. That's because they've managed to make big stompy robots boring and uninteresting to me. And the cost of the models is simply outrageous for what they are. Let's just, for the sake of humour, let's go and have a look at the Titanicus range. Yeah, remember chat, Looper Cat. Yeah, right. Titanicus. It's like, I play Imperial Knights, right? Not even our entire... Like, this model is significantly smaller than a Titan. Right, this is significantly smaller than a Knight in size, this model. And yet they charge 100 quid for it. Yeah, this isn't even a Knight-sized base, by the way. Like, this isn't a full-size Knight base, this is one of the smaller ones. And they still want to charge 100 quid for this model. Why is this Knight so much more this Titan so much more expensive than an Imperial Knight for 40k, which it is smaller than? It's ridiculous. Yeah, there's not that many looking at the sprues. And, yeah, I'll let you into a little secret about the Titanicus models. For the most part, they are genuinely just shrunk down versions of the Forge World ones. As a lot of these models are, in fact, digitally designed Titans from Forge that you get from Forge World. And so we did use the same CAD design to make these models. And also look at how many books you need as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 books, so that's what? 150 quid? More you need to have all the rules for the units. Probably the most appealing thing for me from the entire Titanicus range is probably just the terrain. If it wasn't so expensive, I'd buy it to use for Battletech. yeah, also from Varak's server. And we have a teaser of new Votan technology and weapons. So I guess there is going to be a little bit more to the Votan than what they're going to show off in the battle report. And yeah, to be honest, I wouldn't take what Varak says about legions too seriously, as he plays a deck with a singular strategy, and when it doesn't go his way because someone's built it has a deck which counters his style of play effectively, he just complains and whines about it. But at the moment his deck works and it's such a singular focus, then he struts around the place as if he's the greatest. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily take his opinions on your skill and capabilities too strongly. You know what we should do, guys? Before Varak has a chance to, we should make the Sons of Hamish homebrew chapter. Or Legion. We should do it ourselves. And yeah, it does look like some weird pistol thing, doesn't it, Saurian? I do need to work out why Nightbot's so aggressive about caps, but yeah, try not to spam all caps. Yeah, good. Ultimately, you are your own judge. Alright, yeah, no, we were actually going to have a look at your stuff, weren't we? On that note. Where did you post it? Alex has posted some stuff. Alright, let's have a look at Saurian's stuff. So this is, yeah, Saurian Buckle 25's Marines from Twitch. These are his first models. And honestly, I'm rather impressed with how well you've managed to paint these for your first models. Whilst the paint does look like it's on a little thick, it's still in all of the right places. And is still relatively tidy. Anonymous, so on the Discord server, !Discord, just put them in one of the channels relevant. So you got the showcase and you got the work in progress channels. And each category, Horus Heresy, Battletech, 40k and the Old World all have their own. So these three away first. Even then, still, you've got the paint mostly in the right places on these three. And on this guy. The only thing I'd really say is it doesn't look like you've primed your miniatures with anything. You can still see some grey plastic in areas. Yes, yeah, to stop paint chipping, it's highly recommended that you prime your models first. Also, if you use a black spray can, which is probably what I'd recommend, it also will put, black into all the shadows and stuff, and it will help make the models look a bit nicer, and also will help paint stick and go on a bit more consistently. Okay. But yeah, there's still areas where you can see the grey plastic through. So I think the only thing I would really suggest is first prime your minis. It's quite easy to get a spray can somewhere. Whereabouts are you from, Sorian? Like, just generally. I can't believe there are so many armies that Chaos has in Fantasy OS and 40k. As one of the several reasons why I like Chaos. Yeah, there is just a huge variety of the armies that fall under the Chaos category, especially in Fantasy. So you have the Beastmen, you have the Warriors of Chaos, you have the Norskins, you have the Demons, you have Ogres to a degree as well, and you also have Chaos Dwarves, which are a very unfortunately forgotten faction. So Sorian, I can't remember what brands exactly, but Testors spray cans are often used a lot. That's the only one I can really think off the top of my head for spray can primers. You don't necessarily need to use Games Workshop primers, spray cans. You can use ones you can find in hardware stores and stuff. Is there anyone else American in chat who can recommend any good spray cans? As yeah, my personal recommendations for the spray paint which I'd use in the UK is a little different because there is a UK only brand which I swear by. So yeah, the main advice I'd have when looking for spray cans is to make sure it's not a gloss spray can. whilst gloss paint does have its place in painting minis, especially if you're doing a metallic coat over, I would still recommend yeah, I don't think Halfords really exist in America, do they? I mean, if they do, then yeah, Halfords spray cans are good. Their own brand black sprays are ones which a lot of people use. You can just get away with all of the base coat GW base paint if that's what they have. Just remember, it's yeah, Adron, yeah, it's true. You could just base coat with black, with like a black base spray, but at the same time, especially when you're starting out, it's not something I necessarily recommend, as you need to learn how to thin your paints, and if you're applying a base coat or a base layer which you want to stick, you want it to be kind of thicker but still smooth. And for people starting out, that's not really something I'd recommend trying to learn, because if you mess up your base coat with by brush painting it on, you're going to potentially ruin the mod before you've even started. It's easier to base coat with a primer for a spray can or an airbrush. So for beginners and people getting into the hobby, I always try and recommend that they pick up a suitable spray can. Also, for me personally, I found that over bare plastic, the GW base paints don't always stick too well and still chip off quite easily. It might have changed the formula since I taught myself the hard way to base coat my minis properly, but yeah. Alex over on the Discord server has been working on making some Alpha Legion, well, the Alpha Legion Exodus character using a Phobos Space Marine as a template. Yeah. Other than lore accuracy, yeah, I think the model works relatively well overall for it. If you've only got a Primaris model to work with, or that's the only one which is cloaked, then I guess one of the Primaris Eliminators is a good choice for trying to make the Exodus. I'd still probably try and personally do a bit more conversion and kit bashing. Maybe try and do some green stuffing on the legs here to try and remove the blatant Primaris aspects to it. Otherwise, yeah, it's probably the best model at the moment to work from unless you're going Forge World. I've also been working on some stuff, so used some 3D printed parts for a game. I've kit bashed some Cacophony. On the note of Primaris stuff, this guy has the Kaivan Shrike bear head as his head option, as I feel like this is the only place in which this head would ever be remotely suitable on a noise marine. Do I have any 40k noise marines? No, I don't have. Well, I don't currently have any Chaos 40k stuff, and not the Emperor's Children stuff, as I'm really interested in the Emperor's Children during the Horus Heresy. So I've kind of kept my forces more focused on just the Heresy era and stuff, which is obviously and visually from the Heresy era. The Warp Forge also has a YouTube channel, by the way. He has been working on some Dark Mechanicum stuff. So he's been kit bashing this model to be a Dark Tech Priest. Using a green stuff roller to make the tubes for the Candrites and the Catendrites. I can't remember what they're called if they're the tubes. Yeah, I think it's looking really good so far. He needs to tidy up the green stuff a bit on the axe, but otherwise I think it's looking quite good. Zell has also painted a Emperor's, a Sons of Horus Contemptor Dreadnought. And I think the paint's gone on a little thick on this arm, but overall it's looking really good. It does look like he forgot to paint the inside of the bolt gun though. And yeah, the green stuff on here, all of the tubing was done with a green stuff roller. So I've talked to Warpforge about this, and yeah, it's a green stuff world tube roller for these. It's just a very effective, simple way of making lots of tubing. In the Knights Project channel, Cypher posted his Imperial Knights, which coincidentally look like they'd fit in relatively well with the colour scheme we're going for with the Imperial Knight I've been working on. And here's the other one. Done a rather good job with it overall. The chainsword on this one looks like it still needs to be painted. and some effort could be made to better tie in the decals here. Not enough pink. The pink is going to be only on one model. That's all you guys paid for. Yeah. I also use blue stuff to make press mold of details which you can use. Yeah, blue stuff is very useful as well for cloning bits. See at the bottom here, he's also painted up with different helmets as well, so you can choose which one goes on. Yeah, I suppose whilst we're at it, so the very quick basic template I made of how the knights I'm going to be painting will be looking. So to clarify, where the red is basically the only fixed colours outside. So the greys and the red are the two fixed colours. Those are the only places which have to be red, or a specific colour. Where the pink is on this colour scheme is where your personal choice of colours go. We're using pink as one of the donation challenges, I guess, from the stream before last, was to raise money for Imperial Knights. And enough money was raised to buy a knight, under the condition that we painted a section of, well, elements of it pink. So for doing the diagram of how the colours go on the knights, all the areas which you get personal choice on when painting a knight have been marked pink to symbolise that. The elements of the knight which are black and white is basically freedom of choice, but they have to be black and white in some sense. With the more white on the model, the more elite or more experienced that knight is. So armigers will be mostly black, and things like the Cerastus Knight will be mostly white. So yeah, this is kind of roughly what we're working towards with the knight I'm currently painting. In fact, what we can do is we'll go back to the hobby hangout section. And that's also why it's pinned in the background, by the way. Yeah, what we'll do, briefly, whilst we're still waiting for some stuff to dry, is we'll actually put the armour back on the knight for now, just so you guys can see how it's shaping up. Any chevron hazard stripe? Yeah, there will be stripes. Don't worry. Yeah, pink historically was a masculine colour. As you know, it's, well, made from red, and red is blood. Blood is a manly thing. apparently. Nothing like having a homebrew check to be Baptist, very likes random, and I can easily prove how that's possible for me. So in future, yeah. Probably a totally not GW, totally not Leviathan kit related elbow joint. Possibly. There may be things around. I wouldn't know because I've never print for GW parts ever.
Friendly dropship has entered atmosphere. ETA dropship 1 minute. All systems nominal.
Oh, it's not going to stick on. And yes, in blue tack we trust. Take the light off for now. that a bit better? No, unfortunately the daylight's just going to make that glowing white. I'd say black or red are probably the two strongest pigments. And sorry, and where did you try and send it? Oh yeah, with this one I'm not sure what the accent colour, well the pattern on the gold is going to be, but that is a gold on the shoulder pad there. Oh, camera's trying to white balance it out. It's getting there. But yeah, still need to do the black patterning on the carapace and on the shoulder. Yeah. In which case, yeah, try sending it in bits is probably the best course of action. Yeah, any suggestions what patterns we should do for black? Yeah, I'm up for doing any kind of patterns and stuff as long as it would make some kind of sense. Checkerboard. I was thinking of perhaps doing checkerboard on the legs. Okay. Catholic faith was an ancient religion of old Earth, still practiced in some form during the earliest 31st millennium, at the time of Horus heresy. Catholic faith was descendant of the Roman Catholic Church, who still practiced religion during the early days of the Imperium of Man and were looked down upon by others because of their refusal to accept the atheistic doctrines of the Imperial truth. A known pious Catholic of this period was Alanius, person former Imperial Army trooper and perpetual who retired from his service in the Great Crusade. Calvin around Ultra in hope that being Imperial frontier would make it easier to practice ancient religion, unknown of Catholic faith. Okay, so Alanius Pius definitely wouldn't be the preaching type. He's a pretty well established character during the Horus Heresy book series. So I wouldn't put much faith or consideration into the fact he was practicing it. Also, it was illegal to be religious in any form other than a tech priest during the time of Great Crusade and the Emperor's Imperium, and especially going past that, into the 40k timeline, it's incredibly, well, heretical to practice any form of faith other than the it's incredibly heretical to practice any faith other than the ecclesiastical truth. You also have to remember in 40k as well, it's the Adeptus Mechanicus is a reformation of the Mechanicum, which consists solely and purely of people who all believe that the Emperor is the Omnissiah as well. So the Emperor is the god of the Imperium, and any form of alternative worship outside of the Mechanicus and the ecclesiastical truth, I think that's what it's called, is considered heretical and will get you killed on sight. Yeah, I'd probably say no to it, Storian. I can't really see there being any room for any form of alternative faiths in the Imperium. You'd either have to be faithful to the Machine God or to the Emperor, or be an atheist now in the very current setting. But I don't think there would be any space for Christianity anymore. Yeah, that would definitely get you shot, Saurian. For those guys on YouTube, Saurian said, "My chapter sees the Emperor as a false prophet and wants to dethrone him." Yeah, that's incredibly heretical and would definitely get you shot at. Yes, I'm not sure there is anything much more heretical than that, to be honest. Right, let's reset the desk and get back to hobbying. I'm going to vote Lupercat in next election for more religious freedom in our glorious Imperium. Yeah, for the greater good. Hamish, for the greater good. Some of the other... And hey Connor, how you doing? Right, catch you later, Saurian. Hope you had a lovely time here. And we'll see you next time. Please tidy up this oil stain that we saw in the pictures. Bit tidy. Right. Next one we're going to look at in terms of oil effect is going to be engine grime. And I am doing good. So this is just a very gross, dirty kind of effect, as you can kind of see around the top there. It's just yeah, that dried white caked kind of dirty grease effect you get on around engines and things. Although rather awkwardly, it does seem like it has actually mostly dried up. It's a shame. Looking forward to using this. It's dried up, which is a shame. We do have something kind of similar here, which is starship streaking. So this is very good for just doing dirty panels and stuff. As you can see, it's actually quite similar, just not as dry. Let's deal with this one. Yes, we're going to mostly use this around the back. I can imagine it getting a bit gross and dirty. Yeah. I'm being relatively liberal with the amount. this into the area. Over this brass area as well, both sides. I'm just trying to make a general mess is the best way to put it right now. Not looking for any particular consistencies. Let's apply it all over. This stuff is fantastic for Death Guard, by the way. So it's grey-green kind of colour. We'll do that. So what we're also going to do, we'll get around this front area as well. Side. So work it all over the brass area. Yeah, this one is starship streaking, yes. Once we get on to working on the armor paneling with streaking and dirt effects and stuff, we'll see a lot more of starship streaking. Right, I suppose now would be a good time to return to the oil beams. Remember, we got a few more out. The next one we're going to be working on. I'll move the brush out a second. That will be, yeah, the bitumen. So, load up the brush again. Oh, you guys can't see. So what I'm doing is just mixing the paint up again on the palette. black. What we're looking for here is far more of a a crude oil, drier oil kind of look. What we're going to do is just find the areas where I think the oil and stuff would have collected the most and stayed probably the most stagnant. And then we're just going to apply it into those areas. With a bit of shading to the oil. And because we're doing this now, whilst the oil is, the oil effect is still somewhat sticky, it will dissolve and blend itself naturally in. Doing so, we're basically giving a wash to the wash. Make the wash look a bit more. See, that's darkened it up quite a bit. Much. We can just rinse it down with some of the thinner. So if we feel like some of the washes we did earlier weren't dark enough, we can always go in and redo them with this. It's still quite dark. You can effect in there, but it has actually would also be quite good as a shade over the bronze, over brass parts as well. So these ones down here, which are more of a shade, we'll cover those in the wash as well. Both sides. Whilst we are using specific paints for different things, at the same time, depending how you perceive them, and in the context in which you see it, it does change how you register it. So even though we're using it to kind of build up and sell the illusion of built up older oil in places, other places we will read it simply as a highlight. So here, where we've put that streak in grime, I also want it to look like it is genuinely old oil that's turned into this weird greeny colour. So we will mix some of this in as well. Adding a little to mix it in. And now for the legs. Let's find those areas which we've hurt the oil in the past. Add in some of this wash that we created out of the black and the browns. Again, here we can build up the shading a bit more. Do that. Pretty good shade for those joints in the feet as well, between the feet and that central ring area. Let's put a nice heavy wash in there. As well. Build up who comes in those areas. I feel like the areas down here need a bit of a push. Yeah, you'll see. With piston and stuff, it really helps darken down that oil wash. And the nice thing is, as we're using a oil paint, it will dry a lot more matte in those areas as well. So it will look a lot more like aged and dried up oil. And where it's brown and glossy, it will look a lot more fresh. So add some texture and some detail to the oil. Yeah, as you can see where it's dried on the piping, which we did also paint black, it's very matte. So by mixing the two mediums in the areas we have, it will help sell the illusion of fresh and old oil. Let's add more down here as well. So whilst it is mostly covered by the white panel, we want to add some additional contrast here. I was tempted to do some rust on the model as well, but I feel like I should keep this one relatively clean and not get too carried away. Even though there would be some areas that potentially would get rusty. So I'm going to leave them be for now. And with the exhausts at the top here as well, I'm going to leave those for now, as I think a lot more... okay, no. But we'll do a wash of this shade and then we'll leave that be. As we'll be doing some other things with the events up here. The metal will look a bit out of place if we don't give it any attention. But lots of blood. This isn't ornate knight. So that's basically all we're really going to get done now, as it's going to take a few hours for it to dry to a point where I can start working on it again. So I'm going to call the stream there. It's been a lot of fun, it's been nice relaxing, we've made quite a bit of progress, but yeah, now we just have to wait around for the oil paints to dry, which do take a lot longer than acrylic paints. It's the only real flaw. So yeah, I'm going to leave it be for now. I'm going to do some of the griming and griming streaks on it later, once it's dried a bit, so I can do it more effectively. And next weekend we'll do the armor paneling properly. There'll probably be a stream tomorrow in which we talk about how to do the black stripes on the armor, so I can get it airbrushed in time. And yeah, we'll also go back. There'll probably be another midweek stream as well, in which we go over varnishing and preparing for what to do when you're doing oil paints and enamels over other oils and enamel paints that you don't want to reactivate. So yeah, there'll be at least 2 streams this week coming up. Tomorrow, as it's a bank holiday, I'll be streaming again. And yeah, that's when we'll go for black stripes. There'll probably be some impromptu Battletech streams as well. So yeah, as always, thanks for watching. If you want to support me doing these streams, it's always the option of Ko-fi is there. It's on screen. It's kofi.com/Tuppy. Or you can check out my Patreon. Both of those should have exclamation mark commands in chat. And if you want to hang out with the community more, then you can hop over to the Discord. If you're on YouTube, remember to hit like if you did like it, and if you dislike it, then do that and let me know you didn't enjoy the stream. Yeah, I think that's about it. Take care everyone, and I hope you enjoyed it.